think we're rolling.
Holla.
Yeah. Dude, you know how outspoken we are about our political views on this podcast, right? We share them all the time.
Yeah, nonstop.
Have you noticed and I don't know where this came from, but have you noticed the use of the term nothing burger? I feel like that has gone up 87% in the last 5 years. Like nothing. And when you think about
in the political context too.
Yeah. And when you think that, like, that's the only realm in which I hear that phrase, nothing burger. And it's not like foreign to me. It's not as if I've never heard that phrase before.
Right.
But, and I don't know where the origin is when I first heard it, but I have noticed, and we notice this a lot, like a phrase and certain terms and just things like that. They just go up and everybody seems to latch on, and then it makes me hate those phrases. Like, and I never, ever want to use them again. You know what I mean? But I don't know why. Why? And why nothing burger of all things?
You know, it also top of mind.
Oh, no.
Yeah. That one's caught fire, and a lot of people use it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man, I swear there's others too. But yeah, nothing burger.
Well, why burger though? Like, why? First of all, like, why not a nothing hot dog? I mean, or a nothing salad, or a nothing casserole. Like, why a burger?
Because a burger is substantial. You know, you got meat, you got cheese, tomatoes.
Okay,
pickles,
so why not a nothing casserole?
Well, now we're getting into like syllables. There's too many syllables in casserole. There's a perfect like.
So
match.
we want four. We want 4 syllables. Nothing burger.
Nothing beyond that. 4 syllables. It's symmetrical. You know. And
well, hot dog can be stacked too. So why not a nothing hot dog?
Because that's 4, and that would meet the criteria because that's 4 syllables.
Right. I'm not asking for a nothing loaded baked
burger,
potato
nothing
like
hot dog.
Yeah.
So hot dog could work. Why aren't they saying nothing hot dog?
Yeah. I don't know why burger took the, you know, why are we referring to food at all anyway? Like why not, I don't know, a nothing trapper keeper? Like
that would make more sense. You expect to find things in a trapper keeper, right?
Dude, we need to bring back trapper keepers.
Dude, those things are awesome, man.
And especially not those like, remember when they were that like shitty vinyl and they had like pictures underneath them? You know what I mean?
That's what I'm thinking of. What do you? Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there another version?
Well, then they came out with like the 5-star ones. Remember that? And everybody thought
the
those
cloth
were
ones.
Yeah, yeah. With like they were a fabric with foam in there.
I never had one of those.
Then the shit would rip on the sides, and then the foam would be like spilling out. And of course, you couldn't help but like pull the foam out and everything. And I used to draw. I mean, the only thing cool about that is I used to draw on those because I had like a plain green one. And I drew a bunch of stuff all over it. But yeah, man, bringing back those old trapper keepers that had pictures of your favorite whatever underneath them or something like that. I think. I want to say...
What would kids keep in there, though?
I don't know, stuff.
Yeah,
the kids have stuff anymore?
I don't think they have stuff. You know what they don't have? There's a big nothing burger. Everything that...
I'm almost certain I had a Saved by the Bell Trapper Keeper.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's gonzo now,
Yeah.
but I'm almost certain... And my sister had a New Kids on the Block Trapper Keeper.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
I just had some jazzy designs. I don't think I had any themed Trapper Keepers.
Simpler
some
time.
Of that 1990s fluorescent, like, geometric shapes, you know?
Yeah, simpler time and simpler, like, ability to be satiated. I remember my sister one time for Christmas. This is totally unrelated to our topic today, but...
Oh, yeah, topic.
We're going to segue into it here in a minute. But my sister was big fans. New Kids on the Block, and that was a I mean, their merchandising back then was off the chain. Like if you had, I mean, anything that was popular.
Oh yeah,
the merchandise you could get. I remember she had like New Kids on the Block, bed sheets, pillowcases, a phone, like everything was New Kids on the Block.
Yeah,
and her favorite was Jordan Knight, right? And I remember we're so gullible as kids. For one Christmas, there was my mom had told my sister that she somehow in the networks of moms or whatever knew Jordan Knight's hairdresser and was able to obtain a locket of his hair and put it in a red bow. And this was probably my hair for all I know. Put it in a red bow and framed it, and then signed what I believe to be the shittiest Jordan Knight signature of all. When I look at now,
did you research it?
Well, at the time, internet.
How do you research it?
Right.
Yeah.
So kids were easily fooled. But then I look at it now and I'm like, that's not Jordan Knight's signature. And I wonder if she still has that locket of hair. I really.
There's a story there.
But, you know what I mean?
It probably was your hair, dude.
Is that worse than finding out that Santa Claus isn't real? That's actually
that Jordan Knight's hair was actually not Jordan Knight's. Yeah.
Well, it could have been some bum's hair for all I know. You know,
I'm going to choose to believe it was.
That could have been dog hair. Yeah. But speaking of haircuts, we were talking about outcome oriented skills.
Yeah, that's a perfect segue. Yeah, nailed it.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
So this is in us using our platform for selfishly practicing some of our role play skills, but also I think sharing these skills that we found to be effective with some of our more neat. I don't want to say more needy clients. That's not the right. I guess that's tricky clients. Yeah, and this is a specific. I'll let you explain it, but a specific skill that's designed for working with our dark triad clients, right?
Yeah.
You want to speak on that a little bit?
Yes. So it's kind of, if you see your client headed towards a certain outcome that's risky, and they're just the way they're thinking about things and articulating things, you can tell they're headed towards a certain outcome and they're going left and you want them to go right instead. This is a way for you to maybe turn their, giving them feedback that they can use to consider and make better decisions. But the whole key behind it is getting it in a way that they won't be defensive, that they will be receptive to it. And so we rely heavily on the theory of mind concept, and also we know that validation and status are two pretty big motivational pieces for the dark triad client. This one leans into, like, I guess using validation and theory of mind sort of as like the method to help you land that feedback.
Right. And so I guess whether it's what the client is articulating to you in a session or just behaviors that you're observing secondhand, you're recognizing that the client is moving in a direction that could spell trouble for him. Like it's gonna result in bad outcomes for him, whether that's consequences, revocation of his freedom, whatever. And you want to intervene. And ideally, a client, I was thinking about this and it brought to mind responding to criticism, which is
to top of mind.
Yeah, to the top of mind. I thought that it was a really big nothing burger. But no, responding to criticism is a social skill that we teach them. But in this case, the criticism might, if we throw just a criticism towards them and say, hey, you shouldn't do that, right? Which I'm not going to pretend the therapist just come right out and say that. You want them to recognize that this behavior, although they want to engage in it, is probably not in their long-term best interest. And rather than just saying it and teaching the client to respond to criticism appropriately, this might be an effective way for some of our clients with some of the psychopathic traits, narcissistic traits, Machiavellian traits to better adhere to this.
Yeah.
Is that fair to say?
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Well, walk us through this, man. Let's get into this. If I can get into it. Oh yeah, there we go. So let's start with our skill description here.
All right. So it says this skill positions the therapist as a strategic ally using the client's worldview to guide behavior towards prosocial outcomes. So that's the big piece of it there, is that, like, I know it's kind of obvious to say, if you want somebody to do something, they need to feel like you understand their point of view. Like that's like for everybody, but it's because the dark triad clients tend to think a little different and throw curveballs our way as far as like what their values are. It can be tricky to like as a therapist to really deliver that in a way that that your dark triad client recognizes, like, oh wow, yeah, that my therapist actually gets where I'm coming from, as opposed to just, platitudes or like kind of moralized preaching or don't do that, you better watch out. It's to deliver the message in a way that's palatable to them. It keeps them sort of in the expert role. They get to decide whether they use it or not. But before you even deliver the feedback, again, it's you need to make a solid good faith effort to show that you understand their perspective, so you see where they're coming from, so that you can steer them towards something more long term.
And I guess a good point of clarification here is maybe the difficulty with this step with some of the therapists is that their worldview is so distasteful that it's difficult for them to, like, even validating it, which validation is not the same as agreeing with or condoning it. You're simply validating it to the degree to say, hey, I understand where you're coming from. Like, understand where you're coming from doesn't make whatever they're doing righteous or less illegal than it already is. It's just saying,
create some buy-in.
Right. I'm hearing you and where you're coming from, and I assume in a non-judgmental fashion, right?
Yes.
Like doing that in a way.
You want to do it in a way, non-judgmental. You want to do it in a way that they're able to sign off on it. Like, yeah, that's it. That's how I feel.
Good. All right.
Okay, that's that second bullet point.
Oh,
there.
yeah,
Exactly. We covered that.
Therapist adopts a non-judgmental stance.
You put the word steel manning. Perfect.
Even antisocial perspectives build credibility and influence. And then the third one, theory of mind is essential. Therapist must steel manning the client's mindset to offer feedback that feels aligned to the client's self-interest. Okay, so explain that.
Yeah. So there's must steel man the client's mindset to offer feedback that aligns with their self-interest. So if you're giving feedback to a client and they feel like you've got an agenda or that you just the way that you see things isn't aligned with the way they see things, they're going to clock you as a broken tool. And our job is to remain in the effective tool category, and only when we can basically give your version of what you believe the client's point of view to be in a way that they're all in on it, then they're going to be way more likely to listen to it.
And I think too, with this population, my experience at least has been that they're so used to being told how antisocial and wrong and immoral those their takes on life are, that they are really receptive to that. Excuse me. They are really receptive to that, like doing that. They're oh, this is new. Like they usually aren't met with that level of validation and perspective taking from other professionals in the field.
Yeah, they're all ready to like roll their eyes internally as yet another therapist that like tries to help me, you know?
And then just prepare to manipulate you at that point.
Yep.
So our last one says, when the client feels understood and remains the expert, they are more likely to interpret feedback as supportive rather than confrontational.
Yeah, exactly. Just kind of what we just ran over. Perfect.
Okay, cool. All right, well, let's go to our next guy here and see what we're dealing with.
Skill steps.
So yeah, let's go through these skill steps one at a time here.
All right, so skill step number 1, use theory of mind to confirm you understand the client's perspective. Again, that's point number 1. And again, remember, theory of mind is just that you understand another person's perspective so that you can explain and predict their actions. And so by doing this, you're communicating to the client that you're seeing things through their worldview. And that then sets you up for the second skill step. Get permission from the client to give them feedback. Again, that technique I think works with everybody, but especially with dark triad clients, because again, they're going to be way more receptive to what you have to say if they're firmly in the driver's seat. And it's kind of given them some power. It's given some autonomy over whether or not they even want to hear from you. They might say they don't want to hear from you, and I guess that's a wrap as far as that session. Come back later, but more than likely they're going to be curious. They're going to wonder what you have to say, and by giving you permission, again, it keeps those the defensive walls down a bit. And then, assuming that they give you permission, skill step 3 is engage the client's theory of mind and deliver positive outcome-oriented feedback. Again, we know that validation, us recognizing or catching an antisocial client engaging in prosocial behaviors, like them realizing that we're noticing is, again, it creates more buy-in. They're actually getting noticed for some of these changes that they might be trying to do. And again, when you're delivering the feedback, you still are wanting to keep in mind, like, okay, how is he going to be most receptive to hearing this? And so you have to really understand the way your client thinks and operates in the world, and the way that you give the feedback might not be the way that you'd give feedback to other people. It might feel wrong in some ways, but the idea is to be effective, not just, what feels like maybe an appropriate way to give feedback.
Well, and it seems like outcome oriented. I mean, it's kind of baked into the title that you're paying attention to the outcome of their behaviors, regardless of how they got there. So exactly. The mindset or the mentality that's associated with the outcome might, in your opinion, be immoral and maybe even dangerous or risky. But if they did the right thing, we need to praise the behavior. I was wondering, when we talk about the theory of mind, that seems, I know some people probably think that's a little heady, the term, Can you simplify what that means for people, like, so they understand a little bit more? Because it sounds, theory of mind is like, I don't know, somebody hears that and they like tune out if they don't understand what it means.
Perspective taking. Yeah,
right.
You understand their point of view. It's so empathy is where you put yourself in somebody else's shoes so that you can understand like how they feel about something. And
right.
This is maybe just kind of it's empathy stripped away from necessarily focusing on the emotional aspect on it. It's just you're developing an understanding of what the client's perspective is. And by the way, I talk about this in one of the before we get to the skill steps in the theory of mind, but yeah,
is it fair to say I'm trying to guess, I'm trying to make an educated guess based on what I know about you and my experiences with you so far as to what you're thinking. I'm generating a theory of what your mind is coming up with.
Yeah. So I'm developing a theory. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
And I mean, it's really the difference between like emotional empathy versus cognitive empathy. This is much more tied to cognitive empathy. I'm trying to pay attention to what are likely the thoughts that are associated with this type of thinking process.
Exactly.
Okay, fair enough. So let's. I did some digging on some of these to look at what kind of empirical support we have. There's quite a bit, actually, because on the using theory of mind, one of the things that, as a summary of this, was this step relies on demonstrating that therapists can decode the worldview of the dark triad clients using that cognitive empathy or that theory of mind. And this is a critical for building credibility with the individuals who, typically they lack that cognitive or emotional empathy. They're not able to do this. So we have a few different supporting peer-reviewed articles here. One of them is titled Theory of Mind in Vulnerable and Grandiose Narcissism. And it says, finds that both vulnerable and grandiose narcissists show variability in theory of mind. Clinician success hinges on first accurately modeling the client's worldview. Another one called Cognitive Empathy and the Dark Triad, a literature review. This was published in the European Journal of Investigation in Health, Psychology, and Education. Suggests individuals high in dark triad traits exhibit cognitive empathy deficits, but are sensitive to being understood cognitively. In other words, they like being understood cognitively from their point of view. And then this last one, Cold Hearts and Dark Minds, a meta-analysis of empathy across dark triad personalities. This was published in Frontiers in Psychiatry. And this one said, it identifies specific theory of mind deficits and nuances in empathy style. A tailored therapist theory of mind approach is essential. So, I mean, more than anything, that confirms what we're saying.
Is interesting. That's kind of so. I mean, the way we came up with these concepts, so it started out, based on research. Again, the psychopathy, the hair psychopathy checklist.
Yeah.
And kind of informing. But then a lot of the actual step by step. Here's how we do it. Just comes from you and I trying to conceptualize things that we've found to be effective, and we did that. And then it's interesting then that based on what the research shows should work, here's how to apply it. And then it's cool to see like an after the fact research backing up what we just kind of have been intuitively doing.
Yeah.
That's
I don't know if
pretty
we're
sweet.
lucky or if there's just so much research out there, no matter what we did, we'd get support.
Is that what it is? Just going to find something no matter what? Yeah.
I hope not.
Yeah.
I hope not. And for step 2, get permission from the client to give feedback. Kind of the summary of this step is crucial in preserving the client's need for control and ego preservation. That's crucial. And that's particularly in grandiose narcissism or Machiavellianism. Like they need to be the ones in control of this conversation, even though we're kind of tricking them at the same time when we're the ones kind of riding the ship. So, and this says where unsolicited feedback is often rejected. So a few different publications here. And one is, we got to go back. Back it up. Psychopathic traits and self-conscious emotions. What is the role of perspective taking ability? And that's in Current Psychology. And that article indicates that granting clients perceived agency, such as asking permission, can activate greater receptivity and self-awareness. And then an article, The Dark Side of Empathy in Narcissistic Personality Disorder, Frontiers in Psychiatry. And this argues that therapeutic communication must respect the narcissist's autonomy, including requesting permission for feedback. Right. Exactly what we're saying in these cases. Okay, now on to this one. So this one says, engage client's theory of mind, deliver positive outcome-oriented feedback. And this step kind of leverages the client's capacity to calculate social outcomes and maintain self-image by showing that the therapist's advice aligns with the client's goals. And that's a strategic empathic approach. So it's not necessarily that we're telling them what to do. It's that we're aligning with what their goals are. Like we're trying to reach their goals. We're not trying to impose our goals on them, but aligning with theirs.
Awesome.
So 3 articles, Self-Serving Social Strategies, a systematic review of social cognition and narcissism, published in Current Psychology. And this shows that narcissistic clients respond better to feedback framed in ways that benefit them socially or materially. A little obvious. Theory of Mind and Empathic Explanations of Machiavellianism, a Neuroscience Perspective. This was published in Journal of Management. And it says feedback is better received when phrased as an advantage from the client's point of view. Theory of mind-based framing is essential. And then lastly, mind reading in the dark personality features and theory of mind. And this was published in Personality and Individual Differences. And this highlights the effectiveness of adaptive feedback when clinicians use the theory of mind to align with dark triad clients' narratives. So directly linked with kind of what we've been talking about.
Nice work digging that up, man.
Yeah. See, I could find anything if needed.
Yeah.
Okay. So should we set the table here and kind of give a backstory as to how we, I guess, stumbled onto this skill and what we thought was the most applicable situation that was a real situation that you and I went through?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So the basic thing was we were working with a client, we'll call him Chuckles, and then he was having an interaction with an officer. We'll call him Officer Smith. And the basic story is that Officer Smith was reprimanding Chuckles in front of all of his buddies, right? And belittling him, and Chuckles had some pretty significant, high psychopathy, high narcissism, stuff like that. And, I guess there's a risk involved in that because, sometimes violence can come out of those guys. So you can see them engaging in violent behavior if they're belittled by an officer in front of their buddies. But in this case, Chuckles, he didn't assault the officer, and the officer walked away, turned his back on Chuckles, and then Chuckles did a behavior chain and brought it to a group therapy session with me. And in group, he was talking about why, like, basically that he didn't hit the officer, which was great, right? And I was also amazed that he did a behavior chain and brought it to group. That was the other thing.
That's
that was
exactly what we're trying to teach these dudes how to do.
That was amazing. And then, but the part that everybody's going to see that's kind of tricky is aligned with the thought process that went into that. And we had I think we copied it or paraphrased it at least. Maybe that's
Beautiful. There it is.
Maybe that's to maintain some anonymity for. So the situation was Officer Smith disrespected me in front of my peers, and the thoughts was, I'm going to punch him when he turns around. I will teach him a lesson and give me cred, or it will teach him a lesson, give me cred rather. If I punch him, I will go to max and get kicked out. He was in a program. If I wait until I get out, I can get him back on the streets. Eventually, he's going to get what he deserves. And the feelings associated with that was he was angry, ashamed, and hopeful. And the behavior was he walked away and kept his mouth shut. And the positive consequences that he got from that was avoided getting my privileges revoked. He didn't get in any more trouble, and he delayed his need for immediate gratification to get justice later. The negative consequences were I looked like a lame in front of my friends. I kind of feel like a bitch, and Officer Smith thinks he got one over on me. I feel like we represented that one pretty safe. So if I'm a therapist and I'm looking at that, where might my attention immediately go to on that list?
See, this is exactly why this skill's needed. So my attention goes immediately like, oh boy, duty to warn, Officer Smith might be in danger. This guy is going to assault him. I need to, I feel like I need to do something to intervene. I need to bring this to his attention. I need to act. And if I do that, the client is going to nod his head and say, okay, you're right. I'm not going to do anything. Mm-hmm. And then I will never know if he does or doesn't do it. I have now firmly lodged myself in the ineffective tool category by just jumping right out with trying to steer him towards the outcome that I want. Of course I don't want him to hurt Officer Smith, but if I just barrel through and that's the first thing I jump to, he's gonna write me off. And so that's where this
and you fall into the broken tool category henceforth, right? Like I don't think there's any crawling out of that.
No,
you're like doomed to the junk drawer. Hence, from then on,
and you might not even realize it,
right? And don't get me wrong. I mean, safety first, everybody, right? I think that if this is, follow rules of being a therapist or whatever capacity you're working in. If there is an imminent threat, I don't think you have a choice.
Right.
But in this situation, there wasn't an imminent threat. I mean, the client in his he said, I'm going to wait until I get out and get him back on the streets.
We've got some time.
Well, right.
7 months in this case, wasn't it?
Right. Yeah. He was 7 months out from his potential. I mean, who even knows he's even going to get paroled, right? And even after he gets paroled, it's not like that day. So I've got 7 months, and last time I checked, 7 months is not imminent. That's not imminent risk that now I need to, because he's not articulating, I'm going to wait until tomorrow and, hit officers. I'm going to wait till I get out. You know what I mean?
In fact, he's even showing some level of impulse control. If I punch him, I'll go to max and get kicked out. He's recognizing consequences for actions. Also, what we have other indications of impulse control. Like if he was going to act on it, it would have been right in the moment. When that happened, Officer Smith turned his back on him. He still didn't react on it, and not only did he not react on it, he did a behavior chain.
Right,
like that's you can't draw it up better than that.
Yeah. So I think on this, the other thing is we're not forgetting that, by the way. Like you're going to notice in the role play, we don't skip over that. You want to acknowledge that, but you have to get buy-in prior to even crossing that bridge, and you have to almost trick him into thinking it's his idea. That he came up with why that's a bad idea, which is what we'll do in the role play here in a sec. So,
awesome.
Okay. So let's go on to our role play demonstration here. So we have step 1, and then so I'm gonna be Chuckles. You're gonna be the therapist, and I'm going to introduce this to you. And then you're going to stop and then walk through the role play, right?
Yeah.
So if you guys are doing this in supervision and practicing this as clinicians, again, this is a made-up scenario, but you guys will all have scenarios in which this will work. And then you bring this in here, and hopefully this is a real-life scenario. If not, you can still practice this. You can use Chuckles' example for all we know. The point is that you're practicing the skill steps and walking through this in your mind, slowing the whole process down. And one of the things you guys are going to notice is that once I get through my piece here, Jeff's going to do his thing. And then once we do the skill step, it's over, right? We don't continue from there, because then it's going to turn into a whole different skill step. Chuckles is then going to say something else, and then we have to apply a different skill step. So this is just for getting through this because it's such a volatile situation.
Right.
So, okay, so we'll start. You'll say, hey, you have a behavior chain, and then I'll jump right into it, and then you'll jump in step 1, right?
You got it.
Okay, cool.
All right.
And action.
All right. Hey, did you get that?
Yo.
You got a behavior chain for
I got
me?
something to say. So this punk ass bitch, he was Officer Smith. You know the problems I've had with Officer Smith in the past, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All I do is talk about Officer Smith. So I said something he didn't like. We were arguing about football, and and his team lost. Of course, this is why he's pissed off. That, and because he, probably can't please his wife or something. Anyway, but so he was, talking shit about me and belittling me in front of all my buddies. So, and I don't know, I kind of feel like a lame because of this, because after he did that, he just turned around and walked away. Like I wasn't going to do something to him. And I didn't do anything. I didn't say anything to him. I just walked him walk away. And, so that was the situation as far as what happened. And the thoughts I had was, as soon as he turned around, I thought I'd really like to punch him in the back of the head. That was my immediate thought. And then I had another thought that said, well, if I punch him in the back of the head, then I'm going to go to max, and I'm going to get kicked out of the program, and then my parole hearing is going to get extended, and I'm not going to get out. And then another thought I had was, you know what? This can wait. I can figure out where Officer Smith lives, and when I get out, I can just go to his house and attack him, or on the streets. I can just follow the dude. And I thought, okay, good, he'll get what he deserves. And I kind of felt like really angry, and I don't know, just kind of ashamed. I was kind of excited, but then ultimately I didn't do anything. And the positives were, I'm still here, obviously. I didn't go to max. I didn't get any more trouble. And I felt like I delayed my instant gratification. But then the negatives were, he walked away thinking he got one over on me, and he thinks now that I'm not going to do anything to him. Like, he thinks he's better than me. And, and plus I just kind of feel like a lame in front of my buddies. So, yeah, there's my behavior chain.
All right, nice work. Let me make sure I've got all that. You ran a lot down to me, and I want to make sure I'm understanding you right. So I think you're feeling a little bit ambivalent, a little bit conflicted. On one hand, you have the same parole date you had before that interaction. 7 months from now, and you were able to actually use these skills, and again, use the behavior chain like right in the moment. You still are getting out of here when you originally anticipated, and I'm sure you're proud of yourself for that. But on the other side of it, I can tell it bothers you that Officer Smith, he thinks he got one over on you, and I think it bothers you to think of like how he's thinking of you, and that he's back in the section right now, feeling like he was able to get
Dude,
you.
that's what pisses me off the most.
That part,
yeah, like thinking about what he's thinking about me and thinking he got one over on me, and him like telling his buddies about it, or like going home and telling his wife about it or something like that.
Like laughing at you
kills me thinking about that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So here's the thing. I have some feedback for you if you're curious to hear it. You've had a pretty long day already. If you want to kick this down to next session, we can. But if you're curious what I have to say, I've got something for you to consider.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. As long as it doesn't get me more heated, then yeah, I'm totally open to some feedback.
Excellent. I think first and foremost, it's important to like recognize you legit crushed it. That was, I think you get to take a victory lap after this session for not reacting the way you're reacting. But here's what I want you to do. And I guess it's not so much feedback. I'm gonna give you something to think about.
Okay.
All right. You remember doing those cost benefit analysis worksheets?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we did that back in like module 1, right?
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah.
Good memory. So I want you to do one of those specifically on your desire to get Officer Smith back. But here's the catch. I don't want you to fill it out thinking as you're thinking right now. I want you to fast forward your mind to like 7 or 8 months from now. I want you to fill out this cost benefit analysis when you're out of prison. And I want you to be thinking, and because remember, things are going to be different. You're not going to see Officer Smith again unless you find him. Mm-hmm. You're going to be making money, doing whatever you're doing. You're going to be talking to women. You're going to be able to get a breakfast burrito whenever the hell you want.
Yeah.
True freedom. And so I want you to have your mind in that mindset and do a cost benefit analysis on getting Officer Smith back. And then we'll just look it over next session. But again, I want the take home message to be, you did great today. So keep that up.
So you're saying, like, I mean, because I'm still pretty dead set on getting back at that guy one way or another. But you're saying not thinking about it right now because I got 7 months till I parole. So you're saying do this more as I'm looking into the future as what's going on, and then like how that's going to impact. But not necessarily changing my mind one way.
No. It's like a thought experiment.
Okay.
Yeah. Thought experiment. I want to challenge you a little bit. You're up for a challenge, right?
Yeah. Okay. And scene. Okay, good. All right. Well, and so as we broke those down, I was kind of scrolling through those. Did I do good on
that was good. Yeah, you got
on which ones we were.
No, that's perfect. I think it's actually, that's how I was thinking of it when is that like the step would pop up as we're going through it to make it clear because sometimes people will be like watching us interact and they just might just get listening to the story that you and I are telling,
right? As
opposed to like, oh, this is step 2, this is step 3,
right? And on that, like I should have probably went through those, but so on this step 1, basically you were letting me know you wanted to make sure that you understood my point of view. I think you did that really well, like opening that up, like, hey, I just want to make sure I'm getting this right? You're not saying I know what this is. You're open it up again. They're the expert all the time, like lending that to them. And then you applied the theory of mind, and I think you got kind of where that was, and you highlighted the antisocial motives. You didn't try to discount those or downplay those or give me some moralistic objection to what I was thinking at the time either. You just ran it down. Matter of factly, right?
Objective, yeah.
And then you modeled the empathy without judgment. You normalized those competing thoughts to increase rapport and credibility. So you're saying, that's pretty normal, as far as those things go. So, and I think
when we do this, should we like the stuff that you have written? Should we be reading through it, like as it pops up, like? Or because you've got a lot of stuff written here that's worth going over, but it's while you and I are talking.
So what I think we'll do, and this is again what I would encourage anybody who's running this in like a practice setting, like if you're doing this in group supervision, is you read through the skill step and then you try to get an understanding of what the step is all about, right? Because you can look at the step and you can say, okay, step 2, get permission from the client to give them feedback, but there's techniques that you're using in that, right? You're not just saying, may I have permission to give you feedback? You're not just saying that, right? There's techniques that are in there, and the purpose of this is for the people. Like a group is best. It's best when you kind of have like a either 3 of you or more, because you can have somebody who's going to be the actor as the therapist, somebody who's going to be the actor as the client, and then you have an observer. And the observer's job, so they don't feel left out, is to pay attention to whether or not you're hitting the skill steps. And so having these skill steps laid out, just like we're having it right now, they're paying attention to that and making sure you got it, because they want to give you feedback. Because when you're in the heat of I know we're playing dress up and we have them all right here and you're in the heat of the moment, but you still sometimes skip a beat, and also maybe, you need feedback on what you did well in those circumstances. So we always want, and again, we don't want to like challenge each other or be way too difficult. Notice how when I was Chuckles, I wasn't being super difficult. I didn't give you much pushback because it's not about me.
Yes.
It's about the therapist. And I'm not under any illusion that just because you practice this once in group supervision, that all of a sudden now you're an expert. What it's doing is it's giving you an opportunity to practice the skill as it was intended and nailing it. So you know what at least how it goes. Now, when you go practice it, you're probably going to blow it. Like you're not going to do well. You're going to skip some things. And that's not the point of it. The point of it is reps. So now I started with this. It's a perfect setting. I always think like when I mean, you and I would meatheads, so we compare everything to weightlifting sometimes, but like you know, I remember very first learning how to do certain lifts. I wouldn't put the weight that I intended to lift on there when I was learning technique. I'd have really lightweight on there when I'm learning technique, because technique is crucial, right? Or you in jiu-jitsu, if you're learning that, you're doing it step by step by painful step, where the skill might take, I mean, less than 2 seconds to pull off.
And
you know?
initially with a partner that's allowing me to perform the technique I just learned.
Right. And I mean, I've seen some of the like techniques in jiu-jitsu be taught, and they're teaching for 20 minutes, talking about why this and this and this are important, and giving little tricks and tips on it. And then the technique itself happens in 2 seconds. I'm not even kidding, in 2 seconds. And that's how this interaction happens. Yep. So we're breaking it down to almost a painful degree, but that's okay, because we're trying to get it that you're adhering to the skill steps as they were intended to do.
Exactly.
And that's about the best role play best practice you can get outside of doing it with a client. So in step 2, and this is kind of thing is, you begin with praise. That's important. It's so important that this is genuine. Like, you genuinely, and they have to believe it. Like, it can't be bullshit.
And that can be challenging too, because the thing that I'd be praising you for in this circumstance is like, it should be a given. You know, some of the prosocial behaviors, it's kind of like, of course you should do these things, but the idea is that you may well be trying out some of these things for the first time. You might just be dipping your toes in the waters of acting prosocial. And the very fact in the role play that you did a behavior chain rather than punching Officer Smith in the back of the head, or even talking back for that matter, that's significant growth. So I praise it.
Absolutely. And then an affirmation before intervention, meaning like, I'm trying to again, this is within their control. I'm not trying to turn this into something that's about, I want you to appreciate the fact that I appreciate you. This isn't about me. And then asking permission respectfully, and not you did that in a very casual, non-clinical way, you know, not like, may I have permission? That just sounds silly. Like, you have to use it in a way that's very your own flavor, but also a way the client's going to be receptive, that you have and then maintain a line. So I'm going to frame the feedback as optional. It's not like you have to do this. And that's going to reduce defensiveness and increase engagement. And then the last step here, which is, again, I'm going to reinforce positive behavior again. Like you said, dude, I just want to say again, you crushed it. Like, you have to do that because you're skating in a weird territory here. And so you're kind of like, I mean, you really want them to understand, like, I'm not like, this isn't a trick. I genuinely want you to believe. And I mean, I said earlier we're tricking them, and to a degree,
we're influencing.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a trick, because tricks imply that I'm getting some benefit from it. I want you to know, like, seriously, I appreciate that you didn't punch him and you brought a behavior chain. Holy shit, I can't get most clients to do a behavior chain, right? And then future-oriented thinking, super crucial, because that's 7 months from now, and I want them to think, okay, yes, right now you're hot, you're heated. What's it going to be like from now? Just giving them some, consequential thinking down the line. And the other thing is, it was not, and I want you to tell me what you would do different. You didn't say that. You didn't say anything. You said, I want you to just do a cost benefit analysis. You don't have to come up with a decision.
Because what's the danger if I say, and what would you do different? What's the problem with that?
If you say, what would you do different, you're implying that what their initial thought is wrong anyway. And we want to get out of wrong think and right think. Don't put a value judgment on their behavior. Link that with their goals. So you mentioned a couple of things to me that you wove in there that were really subtle that a client picks up on. So you talk about, if you know anything about the goals, like Chuckle's goals are, I want to make money and I want to get chicks. Okay, so you throw those in there, you'll be making money, you'll be talking to women. Those are your goals. Now you're going to weigh those goals against this option that you have. So you want to keep them, and there's nothing wrong with, consensually, having female partners in the future or making money. Those are fine. Like there's nothing
Those are great.
right? There's nothing inherently wrong with either of those.
Yeah.
So I mean, some people, it's so funny because I'll get into talks with therapists sometimes, and like, do you remember one time we were in a session and I said, what's a prosocial alternative to, I think it was looking at pornography. I mean, it's such a simple exercise. And one of the clients said, playing a video game. And I was like, yeah, okay, cool. And I was like, why is that, you know, a prosocial alternative? And he said, well, it kind of meets some of the criteria, which was it's really engaging. It keeps my attention. And I really want to do it also. Sometimes I buy games that I look forward to, and I deliberately withhold those things for myself in times of crisis. So I want to play this game, you know, whatever it is. I think, and he said, and so I use that because I'm really looking forward to it. And I said, yeah, that's fine. I mean, you're not hurting anybody, and you know, depending on, as long as you're not calling in late to work or something like that, we're fine. And then we left, and I put that on the board. And you know how sometimes you run a group and you leave stuff on the whiteboard. And I walked back in there, and some tool, some broken tool, another therapist wrote, not prosocial.
Oh,
I'm like, oh, come on, dude. Like, I'm like,
completely
okay,
missing the point.
If you were saying I need to work on my stamp collection, I was like, oh, okay, well then that's great. Like, or volunteering at the soup kitchen. I'm like, oh yeah, okay, unrealistic alternatives, great, perfect.
Therapist missing the point.
I know, dude. So it's so
Assuming
silly.
it was a therapist.
Yeah, I was like, okay, yes. That if the alternative is video games, just look at that porn, buddy. By all means.
Video games aren't prosocial.
Yeah. And then framing the feedback from the client's worldview, freedom, autonomy, relationships. We did that. And then avoiding pushing an agenda, which is really tricky because they're looking for that, by the way. They're looking for, like, they're trying to read between the lines. Yeah. And then close with praise. Yeah, again, you praise them 3 times in this. Yeah, affirm the client's progress or strength, keep therapeutic alliance strong. So, yeah, I think that's an excellent.
Dude, good job putting that together.
Yeah, no, this is good stuff. So, okay, so next episode we will do the last skill step that we'll be demonstrating at ATSA, which is adrenaline attenuation.
That's right.
So we have CC, OO, and AA.
Got to keep it alliterated.
COA.
Yeah.
OA.
Coa.
Okay. All right. Well, I guess until next time, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Keep it real.